Dr. Rosenberg, it is great to see you again. How are you?
Mark, I'm doing great. Thank you, Mark.
It's a pleasure. Is it
Yeah, a long time
warm,
no see.
warm and rainy in Miami, or beautiful and sunny? Which
It's the
one?
tropics. In the afternoons, we get the rain, but then it goes away and it's beautiful again.
I agree. I remember 25 wonderful years of living in Miami, believe it or not. Um,
Wow.
yeah, it goes fast, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It's a little scary.
It is scary.
Yeah,
Well, I appreciate you taking the time, and this is part of our leadership series that goes to a huge business audience, and I really appreciate getting your perspective on it. So, how about we just get started?
sure.
First of all, if you could just tell everybody your name, your position, your organization, what you do, that'd be great.
My name is Mark Rosenberg, and I'm president of FIU in Miami, a public university, 54,000 students, opened in 1972.
Awesome. And if I could throw in a plug there, you're doing an outstanding job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um,
It's a great institution.
it is. It's a little city, actually.
Yes, it is. We're actually larger than about 370 of Florida's 420 cities. And in the last 5 years, we've grown by about 14,000 students. We are very passionate about providing solutions for our community, Mark. We have 1,400 faculty. As you know, we opened up a medical school and a law school in the last 10 years, and we're very proud of both of those professional schools as well.
No, I know I've seen it grow, and it's fantastic what you do. And the only thing you're missing, which would allow my two younger sons to attend, is a hockey arena.
Yes, I was just asked about hockey on we did a Twitter communication with our community, and I was asked about hockey. But hockey's got to wait for, I got rugby out there and lacrosse and a couple of other club sports that would like to be varsity sport level. But
Absolutely.
there is an ice rink someplace in South Florida where they could play, I'm sure.
No, there are many. There are many. I remember being at them many times with my sons. So,
That's right. That's
so
right.
let me ask you. This is a leadership series. We're talking to a lot of executives about their perspectives of leadership. Let's start very simple. What would be your definition, or more importantly, your perspective of what leadership really is?
Well, a leader is someone who does the right thing. A leader is someone who has a vision, who has energy to bring about the vision, who has power of persuasion, power of collaboration, who has the gift of empathy, and who has the ability to listen very well.
Being in education, obviously, do you find you can teach You can teach leadership?
I think we can teach elements of leadership. Obviously, there's an aspect of instinct, of intuition that is more innate to the individual. But no two leaders are exactly the same. Every leader has distinctiveness, which makes it so difficult and interesting to study and to model. But every individual should study the traits of other leaders to see what might best fit their particular style and their approach and their value system.
It's interesting. I remember the Miami Dolphins times. One year we'd complain about a coach that was too emotional, and the next year we'd complain about a coach who wasn't as emotional enough.
Right. I tell you that a lot of leadership is about how one handles intangibles about body language, intangibles about whether or not you can convince people that you're really concerned about them, the intangibles about one's approachability. And so there's a lot of intangibles that go into what constitutes a good leader. And
And one of the,
also, and
I'm sorry,
also context matters, Mark.
right?
Context, a leader can't be separated from his or her community, from his or her environment and surroundings. A leadership style in one context may not be a great leadership style in another context.
And I find on this particular question, I find also what's interesting. There's good with education these days. There's a whole conversation about how much of the liberal arts you need versus the business skills and whatnot. What's your thoughts on that? That there should be some kind of there has to be some kind of combination of those two, the business and the
Well,
people skills.
the education for the ideal leader, at least for me, would be a great liberal arts undergraduate education coupled with a significant and demanding professional degree of some kind, an individual who has had some study abroad, who's had some service learning, an individual who has mastery of another foreign language or at least exhibits sensitivity to multicultural contexts. As there's a lot that goes into a successful leader these days.
And another side note, I guess you're developing, I guess, some pretty good leaders out in Shenzhen, China. No?
Yes, we have an incredible school of hospitality management here at FIU that has a second site in Tianjin, China. Tianjin's a small little industrial city of 14 million people to the west of Beijing. It's Beijing's port city, and there, because of the burgeoning hospitality and entertainment industry in China, the Tianjin state government asked us to set up to essentially export our education there. We offer an FIU degree to Chinese students. We have 1,100 students currently enrolled there in a 500,000 square foot state-of-the-art building. We're very proud of that.
Yeah, as you should be. Well, you know what? We've all had influencers in our careers and our life, be it from education or sports or business or whatnot. Is there someone in your life that's been a major influencer? I know you're supposed to say your wife at this point, I believe, but aside from your wife.
My wife we've been married now 40 years, and we have a great marriage, and my wife has been so helpful and so influential in a variety of ways. She's taught me patience, and she's taught me equanimity. My parents were both very influential. My father was a decorated World War II hero. He essentially liberated my mom from a concentration camp and brought her over figuratively, and she taught me so many different lessons about how to understand people, how to respond in different situations, and the lessons that she learned in concentration camp, will be with me forever. So those, family is obviously important, but I've had other people that have been very influential on me. And in high school, I had a football coach who was taught me about humility on one hand and competitiveness on the other. In college, I had a faculty member who taught me about the importance of the life of the mind, the importance of seeking truth, and the importance of hard work. At graduate school, I had a mentor who was brilliant and who taught me how to do analysis. And then here at FIU, where I've been pretty much all of my professional life, I've had a lot of mentors, people who looked out after me, who helped me to understand if I was making a mistake, why it was a mistake, and who were willing to speak hard words to me to get me to improve my whatever I was doing. I've had a number of people in this community, Miami community and Florida community, who've been very influential. A lady from Ocala, Florida, who was the most street smart person I have ever met. She was chair of the Board of Governors, Carolyn Roberts, and I'm forever indebted to her for what I learned from her.
Yeah, it's amazing who we touch when, and sometimes, especially teachers, don't even get to necessarily see who they've touched and all the great work that they do. So I remember having a grade 7 teacher, Mr. Hersey, that was spectacular, disciplined, and everybody loved them. We'd have reunions for years later.
Yeah, well, you don't know, and I think there's a saying that you may be one person in the world, but to one person you may be the world. And certainly in education, we have that opportunity, and perhaps that's why so many of us stick with education, because we understand and we're really animated by the opportunity to influence so many people and to see that influence cascade into great things.
Yeah, I agree. It's spectacular. What's your opinion on how one develops in your business, your organization, as well as other businesses? You deal with a lot of executives. How does one develop a winning culture?
Wow. That's not an easy question to answer. Clearly, winning culture has to begin with the leader of the unit, whatever that unit is. Winning culture has to begin with shared values. Winning culture has to believe with a mission and purpose that extends beyond self and the willingness to articulate that and to understand it. Winning culture means that that the group is willing to take responsibility for its actions and to be candid. A winning culture means that there's not a dual discourse, there's not a double standard, that there's one voice, and that truth can be spoken. So it's the work of years and decades. It's not the work of days.
Yeah, I would agree. Trust and things of that nature evolve. They don't just happen.
That's right.
Good point. So you mentioned some influencers and whatnot. Who do you go to for advice? You know, they always say the CEO and the president are the loneliest people. Who do you go to for advice?
Well, I try to listen a lot. I would not say I have a go-to person. Clearly, you know, I have a great dialogue with my wife, Rosalie, but I try not to involve her in the politics and the dynamics of the institution, because I think those are daily grind kinds of issues that I just have to manage.
Right.
But I try to listen very well. I try to I have a great group of vice presidents who provide a lot of advice to me. I have a board chair who is very, very good and thoughtful. He always asks the right questions, which I appreciate. And there are a couple of people in our community who periodically are helpful to me. But there are different kinds of issues I have to deal with. There are a range of political issues and community issues, and that would be one set of individuals who help me, and institutional issues, that would be another set.
I gotcha. Little on more on the light side. How do you? I know what you do out there, but you tell our audience, how do you make a difference out there?
I try to make a difference with the assumption that this might be my last interaction with the person, might be my only interaction with the person, and I want to make sure that it's as high quality as it possibly can be. That's one thing. Second of all, I want people to understand that in my role I'm on a mission, and that I work with a sense of urgency and seriousness and conscientiousness that gives them a guarantee that if they choose to interact, that it's going to be worth their while. I try to make sure that people leave the experience feeling better about themselves than they began it with, and that's not always possible, but it's a goal that I have. So trying to take advantage of every interaction to make sure it's a quality interaction and one that leaves people gratified that they had that opportunity to exchange views.
Well, I will tell you, I got a couple more questions, but I will tell you, you've always made a difference with me, and
Thank you,
I
Mike.
appreciate our relationship and our
Thank you,
friendship.
Mike.
So thank you for that. I really do. Last couple of questions. Is there someone special in the past or currently that you've admired as a leader, or that typical question you'd like to have dinner with?
Well, geez, there's a lot of people out there who I'd like to have dinner with that I could list, but let me list one, and that's General George Catlett Marshall. Peter Drucker, the great management guru, called George Marshall the most successful military leader we've ever had, because Marshall had the ability, according to Drucker, to identify what the assignment was and to understand the assignment, and then to find the right person for the assignment. That was an essential element of leadership, according to Drucker, that George Marshall had above any military officer we've ever had. And of course, as you know, leaders have to make judgments every day about people and assign people to roles and roles to people. And it sounds like Marshall really had that figured out. I would like to spend some time with Walt Disney, if I could have. Walt Disney was a person who had a vision and who really was out of the box and executed on that vision in a way that is remarkably successful to this day.
Right.
And if you think about the impact that Walt Disney's had on hundreds of millions of young people with that vision, I'd like to know more about how he did it and what he was thinking and what the elements of success were. I think a lot about Helen Keller, and even though she was blind, She was an incredible visionary. I'd like to have a conversation with Helen Keller and try to understand how she utilized the assets that she had to fathom humankind. So there's a couple that I think about. Probably in contemporary period, the person that that I'd most like to talk about and talk to would be Henry Kissinger. He was an academic. I'm an academic. He was an incredible global logician. He understood geopolitics. He understood the psychology of nations, and that would be a person contemporaneously that I would really like to talk to. And finally, Oprah. Here's a person who believed in herself. Here's a person who jumped so many hurdles and became so successful beyond imagination. I'd like to sit down with her and have that conversation, Martin.
Well, let me see if I can set up a video conference for everybody here. Those are great choices.
If you can set up a video conference with George Marshall, you really are, you really got it going.
I know, I got to speak to one of those people that bring them back to whatever, I don't know, whatever they're called. No, those are great choices. So, on the lighter side, just to complete, do you have a favorite sport?
I love American football. I love the strategy. I love the tactics. I love the force of it. I worry about the brutality of it, but I love American football. I think college basketball is unbelievable. Right. Women's volleyball is I just really enjoy watching that, and how particularly in women's volleyball the teams always tend to play with greater teamwork and camaraderie and spirit. There's so many gifted athletes who play in women's volleyball. So those three sports.
Nice. Do you have a favorite movie and/or TV show?
Oh, the movie would really. I'm very, very eclectic in movies. I don't have a favorite movie, but on TV, I really appreciate the work of Mariska Hargitay and Danny Pino in SVU of Law and Order. Danny's an FIU graduate, and Danny worked right here in the office where I'm president. Not while I was president, but while I was provost. I got to know him, and he's just a wonderful human being. And Mariska Hargitay, I really appreciate the fact that she is on a mission, to go back to your earlier question, and she does it very well, and that's to talk about repression and oppression, to talk about inequality, to talk about injustice, and man's, if you will, people's inhumanity to man. And I appreciate the fact that she's willing to have that conversation year in and year out with us. She's a very gifted artist.
Those are great choices. We're about to release a video panel that we just did on leadership and prejudice. And with Franco Harris, Carolyn Bivens was the first female commissioner of the LPGA right in Florida, and a couple other people. And the one word that I dislike that people use a lot is tolerate. And I know there's a good intent towards it, but we shouldn't be tolerating. We should be accepting with respect, basically.
Right. Well, the human condition, one of the things that I've learned about the human condition as an academic, I've been trained to reason logically using inductive or deductive approaches. But what I really learned was, and particularly when I served as chancellor of the state university system, that it was brought home day after day that reason does not drive emotion. It's emotion that drives reason. And so an element of leadership that has to be understood is how that actually works every day, that emotion drives reason, and how we make decisions around that logic rather than the logic of reason driving emotion.
Makes sense. Well, one last quote I got to give you related to that. You remember Maya Angelou, who recently passed away? One of many quotes that I loved was, people generally won't remember what you said. They might not remember what you did, but they'll definitely remember how you made them feel.
And that's so I think that's so powerful as an observation about the human condition, and it's so difficult to achieve these days. Look around the world today. Really, there's a lot of challenges, and one would think that we would find ways to bridge all these gaps and really try to work together for the common good and a common purpose. But we're as far away from that today as we've ever been, and that's very challenging for us in education, because we do want that common good and that feeling of community well-being, and it's a challenge, Mark.
It's a big challenge, especially since we all think we're more connected with everything, but very often we're less connected.
Well, continuous partial attention is what we have, and we've got to find a way to somehow harness this digital era in ways that really help us to close the gaps and improve the human condition. And there's positive signs, but there's also very disturbing negative signs that that's what's happening.
Yeah, I agree. All right, last but not least, do you have a favorite type of music?
Well, I like up-tempo music. I like electronic music, but I'm very partial to Miami artists. I like Pitbull, Florida, and Shakira periodically is here in Miami and calls Miami home. So I'm very partial to the Miami sound.
Good for you.
Also, don't forget Casey and the Sunshine Band comes right out of Miami, and that guy, that whole, I mean, it's a stitch to go hear Casey and to think that Casey is at one end of that spectrum in Miami and Pitbull's at the other, but they're both Miami products.
Well, I certainly remember.
Our community is.
I certainly remember coming down from Montreal to Miami for college spring breaks for years, and never necessarily thought I'd live 25 years in Miami after that, but heard them all from KC to Gloria Estefan to all the ones you're talking about, and Miami's awesome. It's awesome.
Yep.
So speaking of Miami, last question: favorite food?
Whoa. Wow. I tell you, I love the medianoche sandwich. It's not elegant, but it's tasty. And if you really want to get a flavor for who we are and our cuisine, I think you can get that completely with a medianoche.
Right.
But I'm aside from that, I'm very Midwestern in cuisine.
Did you? Last point, did you see the movie yet called Chef?
No, I haven't.
Check it out, because without telling the whole story, it talks about a restaurateur that ends up getting a truck, and his first thing is Cuban sandwiches.
We have some incredible food trucks down here.
Yes,
And, there's cuisine in Miami is really taken a new direction, much more Latin, much more fusion, very experimental, and there are new restaurants in Miami popping up every day. So it's hard to get a fix on the best restaurants because there's so many good ones here in Miami.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I missed that. So I got to go get myself a Cuban sandwich now that I thought about it.
One down.
Hey, President Rosenberg, it's always a pleasure, despite there might be time lapses when we see each other, but it feels like I just saw you yesterday. So thank you so much for your time.
We're here for you.
I appreciate it, and vice versa, always anything we can do to assist. And you have a great rest of the day and evening.
Thank you. Thanks for giving me some time. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye.